Evil is manifest through chaos. The opposite of good is disorder. Let me say this again. One of the primary manifestations of evil, and I'm not talking about people today, I'm talking about the fact that we live in a spiritual universe. We're living in a spiritual reality. Spirit is all around us. There's light and there's darkness. Darkness is destructive, it has an agenda, and it's intelligent. And one of the primary manifestations of this darkness, which is also evil, is chaos. Because chaos brings destruction. When you have disorder, destruction follows. And one of the most hideous implications and outcomes of the LGBTQ movement that is sweeping across the earth right now at lightning speed with the weight of a tidal wave, and it is bringing complete chaos and disorder to the planet and to our children. I want you to hear me. Where there is order, there is peace. Where there is confusion, there is destruction. I want to say once again, I am not against anybody. I do not hate anybody. I'm speaking against a destructive evil. And just because I disagree with the LGBTQ agenda and mindset does not mean that I hate you or that I hate them. I am allowed to disagree without being a hateful person. Unfortunately, the evil that has swept over the world has so silenced mankind that people are afraid to disagree with the power of darkness. People are afraid to speak their voice because as soon as you speak your voice against this illegitimate LGBTQ agenda, as soon as you speak out against it, you are labeled as a hater, an outcast, and are silenced. One of my staff people recently put a YouTube on her Facebook site. She immediately lost all her friends. And all the YouTube did was talk about the fact that she believes that the LGBTQ movement has destructive consequences for humanity. You see, before we found order in earth, let me say it another way. In the beginning, we call this in Hebrew Bereshit. The book of Genesis, or the book of beginnings, is called in Hebrew Bereshit. And what we read there in the book of Bereshit is this. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was formless and void. So what we find is at the very beginning, as God opens up our eyes to see where creation came from, is that in the very beginning, before God said, "Let there be light," the earth was surrounded by darkness and chaos. Then God said, "Let there be light," and order began to appear. One of the orders that the Lord put into the earth's planet, into our planet, is the order of He created us in His own image, male and female. He created them. So God created a planet. He put humanity on the planet as the pinnacle of His creation. Humankind is created in His own image. We can think, we can feel, we can experience consciousness, we can love, we appreciate beauty. All these things, we have a will, we can choose. All these things are within us because we've been created in God's image. When God created us, He said He created us male and female, not anything in between. When we will come to the reality and admit that we didn't come from nothing, but that we were created by a Creator who had an intelligent design in His creation, if we'll acknowledge that there is a God that's not some impersonal force, but that He's a God that created everything that exists, and He created everything for a purpose, if we are willing to acknowledge that and recognize the fact that He created human beings as either male or female, then what's going to happen is we're going to have to readdress, many of us, our buy-in to the LGBTQ agenda, which says we don't have to be male, We don't have to be female. We can be anything in between, anywhere on the spectrum, and that's what the LGBTQ rainbow flag stands for. It's an upside-down rainbow, and the point is that you can be anywhere in the spectrum of this rainbow, and it's all good. It's all okay. It's all good. Wherever you want to be. You don't have to be 100% male. You don't have to be 100% female. If you're a male, you can choose to be 100% female. If you're a female, you can choose to be male. You can be something in between. That's what this transgender movement is about, as we all know, and it's bringing destruction, confusion, and chaos, and our children are being raised in a culture. I just saw a clip from 60 Minutes Australia. And there's a movement now in Australia where parents, when they find out that they're pregnant and then they give birth, they don't have a revealing party to tell when they find out whether it's a boy or a girl. They don't have a revealing party to share the gender of their child that's still in the womb with their family and friends. In fact, they don't even label their child at birth, male or female. They call their child a baby. And the mindset is, and this is the mindset is that we are not going to tell our child whether they're male or female based upon their biological state, based upon their genitalia. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to let our child explore. And rather than label our child a boy or a girl, we're going to let them explore and choose their own identity. This poison is insanity. And the world is at a place where it's almost completely lost its mind. Are you understanding? This is crazy. This is utter nonsense. This is causing complete breakdown of society. And the result of it will be confusion, destruction. This is just the beginning. When this breaks down, all types of other chaos and evil are going to follow. If we let our children be raised by our schools and our politicians and the social influencers and media corporations and even tech companies, and they're buying into this whole thing, if we let our children's mind be programmed by this, beloved, I'm telling you, only pain and sorrow and heartache are going to follow. We that know the difference between right and wrong and recognize that this whole gender fluidity movement is total chaos and destruction. If those of us that can see straight, that have common sense, if we don't stand up and oppose this thing, then I'm telling you what, we are going to be entering into a time on this planet where the sorrows will be such that no other generation of human beings has ever experienced it before. We must stand up, beloved, and when the enemy's voice gets loud, those of us that have wisdom, our voice must get louder. Let me share something with you. Just because we have love for people, you have a love for somebody, you know somebody that's living in a homosexual relationship, you love people that have a pro-LGBTQ mindset. Just because you love those people, it doesn't mean that because you love them, you have to agree with them and that you can't oppose what you think is not righteous and that which lacks common sense. You see, it's interesting that the Scriptures tell us that when mankind allowed darkness to enter the planet, when Adam and Eve chose what they wanted rather than obeying what God said they should do, God said, you can eat from any tree of the garden, but from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat. And they thought that eating from it would make them wise. They wanted to decide for themselves. Get this. They wanted to be autonomous from God. Did you hear the original sin? In the book of Bereshit, in the book of Beginnings, the original sin that Adam and Eve committed was the sin of wanting to be autonomous and independent from God. The serpent, who's a symbol of the powers of darkness, deceived them and said the only reason God told you not to eat of it is He knows that if you eat of it, you'll be like Him. They wanted to be autonomous from God, just like some of you that are watching right now. You don't want God to choose your gender.